Hi everybody, welcome to the Finance This Property That podcast. My name is Dion Fernandez and I am a mortgage planner and finance professional. My goal is to empower financial legacies for generations, and I look to do this by using my over 13 years experience in finance and having special guest speakers like financial planners, accountants, buyer's agents, family lawyers who are experts in their field to provide knowledge and free education. And without further ado, let's get into our episode today. Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Finance This Property That. Welcome back, returning guests, but in real life, I had to pick him up from the airport. Yes, I did look like the typical Uber driver coming up in my Tesla, and I even opened the boot for him. Thanks, Rich Harvey from Property Buyer.
Thanks, dude. Great to be here with you again. Thanks for picking me up this morning too. Appreciate that.
It's all good.
Personal service, love it.
Oh, look, do what I can. I thought, obviously Rich coming back from Sydney, he's in Brisbane. I'm going to let him tell you why he's here. But what we'd really want to discuss today is around how to build, how do time poor clients build or scale a portfolio or even start. Three things we want to cover off. Around, I guess, your main issues. If you're time poor, you obviously don't have time. And what is that time costing you in procrastinating? 2, trust. There are a lot of buyer's agents out there. So why trust a buyer's agent to go help you build and scale a portfolio? And 3, credentials. Well, why use a buyer's agent? And also, what strategies do buyer's agents use to either build / scale or rebalance a portfolio? But before we get into that, Rich, you're up here for a pretty cool reason. Can you tell everyone why you're up here?
Tonight I'm actually up for 3 awards in the PIPA, Property Investment Professionals Association. They're having their annual awards program. So we're finalists in 3 categories for big business, Buyer's Agent of the Year. I'm up for Property Advisor of the Year. And my EA is up for Operations Manager of the Year. So fingers crossed we might take home 1 or 2 of those.
Oh, imagine if you take home all 3.
That would be amazing. Well, funny story, don't want to gloat, but we're actually up to 49 awards for excellence. And I'm hoping to get 1 to get us to that magic 50 number. Just 1 more would be great. Yeah.
Would you raise the bat when could you like cricket?
Yeah, you like cricket. Absolutely. Yeah. You absolutely raise the bat. Absolutely.
You got
the half century.
Yeah. And you can just say this is the half century.
That's right.
For Property Buyer. So talk about those awards, that's great recognition, obviously, of the work that you do, your time in the industry. You're being really acknowledged for your knowledge, I guess, knowledge, professionalism, and what you put back. I mean, you've been doing this for
Well, I've been doing it for 25 years at the end of this year. So I'm one of the oldest and most established buyer's agents in Australia. I was one of the original pioneers. I wasn't the first, but I was probably one of the first 5 people in Australia to do buyer's agency well. Yeah. So, but with those awards, they're all independently judged. You've got to put in a really detailed submission, provide client testimonials. So it's not just tick a box and put a submission. They're actually really hard work. So you've got to become a finalist, and then to win it is next level. So it does, and it's great for recognition and great for credibility too.
Yeah, I always find the broking awards really hard to do, because for me, I'm more of a, how am I giving back? I'd rather win an award for the quality of my work and how much I give back rather than how much business I run.
But what it does for you, even in your own business, it does make you be a bit introspective, because some of the questions they ask, particularly around PIPA, is about credibility and it's about ethics and professionalism in the industry. And they go, how does being a member of PIPA help you in your day-to-day business operations? So it makes you reflect, okay, obviously you've got to have clients' best interest at heart. What's your turnaround time? What's your speed in terms of service delivery? How do you double check you're protecting the client at every step? So it really is used I use it as a business development tool and a bit of a strategic planning tool doing these awards. Even if I don't win, it helps me make my business better.
It's almost as if you're writing, you're doing a business plan.
Exactly, and reviewing it every year.
Yeah, what are my strengths, where are my weaknesses, and what can I improve on?
Yeah.
I'd never thought of it like that. I've actually...
So I need to see you apply for some awards. There's the challenge, right?
Oh, no, I did apply for a couple of awards. Actually, I won one recently with Bankwest for their Broker of the Year, 2024 Broker of the Year, which they do in 25, for high quality submissions.
Awesome.
Now, that's not on how many dollars I write. It's like when I submit an application, how many, I think I was speaking to my BDM, Alana, she said, 100% of your applications got approved and settled.
That's you're not a churn and burn broker. That's what I like about you. You actually take the care to make sure the submission's going to get approved at credit.
Yeah. And yes, my motto is go slow to go fast. And yes, we went very slow with your stuff, but the outcome is what the thing is, we've got to get the outcome.
Yeah, that's right.
And, but also and I didn't realize this, that award was also based on customer satisfaction feedback. And she goes, you were 100% across the board on that. Your customers loved what you do. When we did the independent fee, I go, I didn't even know you were doing that. And she goes, yeah, we do that. And she goes, also on top of that, the credit analysts that review your file give the feedback. I'm like, oh, I thought it was just I submitted deals and they were good and they just went through. And but when she goes, you sit around the panel. That's an independent panel. And the one I've just got, MFAA, I applied for the community award for my podcast around the education piece. That's what gives me the most satisfaction.
Good stuff.
No, you touch base really on talking about applying for the awards and how it adds credibility to your business, and that's something that I want to talk about. So, looking at time poor industry professionals, how do they scale a portfolio? How do they start, build, wherever they are on the journey, rebalance a portfolio? And one of the things I hear a lot around is, I said, well, you asked me this question, do I do pre-approvals? And I said, well, not really. And it'll be for the right client. I do basically I run out a whole scenario and I know what your borrowing capacity is and I know where it's going to go. I've done the research. I find it very hard if you haven't engaged a buyer's agent to do that. But when I talk about, hey, have you thought of engaging a buyer's agent? What are your plans? What's your strategy around? What's your investment strategy, etc.? I try to align them up with the right people. A lot of it's like, well, there are so many buyer's agents. So talk to me a little bit about trust. Because that's a bit that's the whole.
I think that's like in any business though, Dion. Trust is a big thing. It's like when someone's making an inquiry to our business about should I use a buyer's agent firstly, and then can I trust this buyer's agent? But maybe answer the first question, should I use a buyer's agent, and what's the buyer's agent going to bring to the table? And at the end of the day, so what a good buyer's agent should do is look at a person's position and their goals and their aspirations independently. Like, there's not a one size fits all. We're not selling off the plan apartments. We're not putting them into house and land packages. 99.5% of what we buy for our clients is going to be established property because it represents better value. So the first thing we do is ask the prospect a lot of questions around what's your income, how many properties do you have, where are they located, what's your overall goals, do you have an income goal, what do you want to achieve, and then from there we break it down and I can provide some advice. Now obviously the high level advice, they've got to engage us before we give them the really good juicy stuff, but at a high level we just have a general chat, no obligation chat very early on so they can see they're going to get value from using a buyer's agent. But I think the first thing the buyer's agent does is bring a perspective that they're not going to get on their own. You only know what you know. Like we all have blinkers on, right? They may not know that they can do granny flats. They could do rooming houses. They could, do a renovation. They could buy in certain areas of Australia, which is going to have a significant increase in value where there's critical supply shortages, where they're going to get immediate equity uplift, right? It's not just buying a plain vanilla apartment. So that could work for someone in the right area, but there's not a one size fits all solution. So I think the first thing is opening up the client's mind to how to build and scale a portfolio. Is also critically getting the first one or two properties that gives you equity to then recycle that equity into other properties. Yeah. And that's scaling 101.
Yeah, like you got to buy the quality asset, let time do its thing.
Yeah.
And then when we don't have to, it's not a sprint.
That's right. Yeah. And that's what a lot of investors come to the table. They go, oh, look, I'm in a hurry and I just want to buy a property and in 2.5 years I want to sell it and buy my dream home. And I go, well, that's a nice goal. Let's think about how realistic that is. They want to make $2 million equity in buying a fancy part of Sydney or Brisbane or Melbourne or whatever, right? And you just got to be patient as an investor. You can't control the market. What you can control is what you buy, where you buy, and when you buy. And it's answering those questions that the buyer's agent can help you execute the plan. Because a lot of us, if we're left to our own devices, right, if we sort of think, I need to get fit, right, but you don't go to a gym or don't have people around you or friends that motivate, you're kind of not going to really necessarily achieve your fitness goal unless you're a freak, super diligent person, right? Same with property and finances. I use a financial planner. I use my broker, right? And you've got to have that team around you that supports you towards your goals. And that's really important. And a buyer's agent should be a critical part of that A team that's on your side.
And I think, you know, where you buy, who you buy, what you buy. So where you buy, when you buy, what you buy, but who are you engaging to buy it for?
Well, that's absolutely. Well, that comes down to the trust factor as well, because like I said, I started my business 25 years ago, and I started it just as a backtrack because no one was giving independent advice. So my brother had bought a property up at Hope Island through one of those spruikers, and it would really cheese me off that he was led down the garden path. It didn't do anything for 10 years, and then he sold it, and then it went up in value. Didn't do all the wrong things, right? But there was no one, all the financial planners were spruiking off the plan apartments, getting 30, 40 grand commissions, not declaring them. That stuff just riles me, right? So I thought, I'm going to start a business that helps people make better property decisions. That's my motto in my business.
Yep.
I help people make better property decisions, whether they're buying their first home or $50 million development site or everything in between, commercial premises, whatever. We help our clients make those decisions. So to your point of trust, it's really important that you work with someone who, one, is licensed in the state that they're operating in. So I have 30 buyer's agents across the country. So you've got to be licensed in the state that you're purchasing in. Don't use what I call a FIFO buyer's agent, fly in, fly out buyer's agent. There are some that'll just, occasionally visit the area and then do it remotely. You've got to actually physically do a physical inspection of the property. Secondly, you want someone with a good track record that hasn't been doing it for, say, 1 or 2 years, but doing it for multiple years and has an understanding of how the dynamics and knows how to crunch the numbers.
Yeah, and I think you just nailed that on the head. Someone that's been doing it for more than 1 or 2 years. We're having this chat in the car. I'm like, there's just buyer's agents just popping out of everywhere. Want to do this. And verbatim, one of my clients said, I don't want to use a buyer's agent because I don't know what value they can add, because the last time I had a chat with someone, they just wanted to put me in $1 million home, but it didn't fit my requirements and objectives. And it just felt like they were an extension of a real estate agent. And I was saying, well, you know what? Sometimes buyer's agents are painted with the same, because you're still in real estate. But I am categorically telling you, buyer's agents are not real estate agents.
No.
You are licensed though, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you're a licensed as a real estate, but we only work on the buy side. We only work on the advisory side. I mean, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? So what do we got to do? We've got to listen. And I drill that into my team. Listen, listen, listen. You got to have empathy. You've got to have understanding. I say that if you were my client, Dion, I'd be saying to you, I'm going to be your eyes and ears on the ground looking for this property. I'm going to treat your money as if it's my money. I don't want to go and spend more than I have to, but at the same time, I want to get you the best quality asset I can. So it's about developing that trust. I mean, in my background, I'm a dual degreed economist. I worked in government for a number of years and crunched numbers. I'm good with numbers. So I know how to read the market. I probably read 1 to 2 hours a day, even to this point, on the property market. I'm always just reading and digesting information. I do lots of podcasts like this. I do webinars. I do around 10 blogs a month. So I've got a lot of material that I put out for free on my website on propertybuyer.com.au. So go there, and I've got a whole bunch of free downloads and all that sort of stuff there that people can get educated about the market. So that's the other thing. People say to me, Rich, why are you educating your clients? Aren't they just going to run off and do it themselves? And I go, well, I want my clients to be educated, because then they feel comfortable, and then that magic word, then they trust me and they trust my team. See, I don't I've got, say, Amanda and Tass in Melbourne, right? So if you said to me, Rich, I want to buy in Melbourne, I won't know the specific streets you need to buy in, or the pockets within Baldwin or Frankston or wherever you're going to be buying, but my team does. And so certain buyer's agents have certain strengths. So you want to work with someone who has that hyper local knowledge. That's really important. You want someone that listens to you, that understands what you want to get. You also got to have someone who's a great negotiator. Yeah. Right? That's not the only thing, right? It's about helping. It's all before you get to the negotiation stage. You've got to get the right location. Then you've got to get the right property type. and then you've got to nail the deal. But there's a couple of steps in between. You've got to do an evaluation, like, bank vals. So what we do for our clients, we prepare a written report on the value of the property we're buying, and it looks like a bank val. We pick 4 or 5 comparable sales and we go, is it comparable, inferior, or superior to the subject property? And so that way the client feels empowered to make a decision. Okay, this is great. I'm going to be buying this property. Property buyers told me it's worth $760,000. So we've got an offer on the table. At that level, above that, it's going to be an emotional buy, but that's the walkaway price. So we tell clients when to dig in and when to pay a bit more and when to walk away. We're unemotional about that.
Yep. And that's the independence of the advice that you get. So no, that's a great summary, I guess. You hit the nail on the head there around just being that support network for the journey.
That's it.
And providing the advice that you get paid to. And the myth is people, you're getting paid to buy the property. I disagree with that. They pay your service fee because of the amount of research, pure research, that actually has to go into making a recommendation.
Exactly.
The hours on the ground,
Correct.
like you said, the boots on the ground to go and that's what, like the negotiation part is so small. That's the fun part. It's like we found the property, or maybe it's not the fun part, but it's,
it's a tricky part. I got to tell you.
That's the hard part.
And it's going to get harder this year as interest rates keep dropping. It's going to be more competitive. And some people make a false assumption that we're going to get bargains for them. They're going to be off market. They're going to be 10% below. And it's like, well, if you want to be unrealistic, look, occasionally we do get a bargain, but it's not mainstream. I'd rather pay fair market value for a great quality asset than get a bargain that's next to a petrol station or on a main road, right? I can buy you a bargain every day of the week, but it may not be the property that's going to grow in value, right?
Well, you buy the bargain, it grows at 5%. You buy the smart investment at market value, it grows 10.
Yeah.
Like, well, you take the 10%.
And it also comes down to justifying fees. I guess this is probably the elephant in the room if you want to talk about that. I didn't sort of raise it with you before, but the elephant in the room is, okay, if I'm going to pay $15,000 for a buyer's agent to go and buy me a $750,000 property, which is, say, 2%, why should I pay that money, right? And it's a great question. So I think a couple of things. One, we keep the client accountable. We do it a lot faster. Like in Brisbane last year, I think the market did 11.5% overall in across the board. So that's almost 2%, so it's more like about 1% a month, right? So if you say, okay, you're paying a buyer's agent fee, it's roughly 2%. After 2 months, you're going to be ahead anyway, even if you paid fair market value. But we've got lots of examples where we've been able to negotiate a price down because of our skills or a pest and building issue or a timing issue, or we found a motivated vendor. Like, we find all of those things. So we try to save as much money as we can for the client. We can't always guarantee we'll save more than the fee, but we know that we've set clients up for success, right? And you've got to pay your service providers well. There'll be someone cheaper than us. There'll be someone more expensive than us. But at the end of the day, you've got to go with someone you feel comfortable with, who's got a track record. In my company, we've done over 4,500 transactions, 25 years in business, 50 awards for excellence almost, so we've got those runs on the board to give that credibility, to give the client comfort. We're going to look after them. I think that's a really important point to make.
And totally agree with that. And I think we're about to touch on this next subject around time and opportunity cost, because what's the opportunity cost of you doing it yourself? You're a time poor industry professional, and obviously you're time poor.
Yeah.
So you want to save $15,000 or make $15,000. I think you can save it and make it. You can pay it and make it back very quickly. And with the right advice. So what's the cost? You would have this.
Well, the cost of procrastinate. Let me give you one example.
Yeah.
I was at the gym the other day, just done my workout. I go to a cycle class in the morning, done my cycle burn. And there was a guy, his name's Ben. I won't give his last name, but I used to play tennis with this guy and I hadn't seen him for ages. And it's, g'day, Ben. We're chatting away for 5 minutes, having a really nice chat. And he goes, Rich, I see all your stuff on social media, all the properties, and it's really good. I must come and talk to you about buying an investment property. I say, yeah, that'd be great, Ben. You've got my number. Give him the card. Let's have a chat. Have I heard from him? No. We had that same conversation about 5 years ago. And before that, 3 years before that. So at tennis, we used to chat about property investing, right? Has he taken any action? No. Now, he's missed out on, since COVID, property prices are probably in the area we're looking at have gone up 40%, right? So he's probably left 300 or 400 grand on the table just by not taking action. So this is the thing. If you are is a notorious procrastinator and you don't take action, what's the trigger? What's holding you back? Is it fear of debt? Is it fear of making a mistake? Is it you just can't get your act together? You just don't feel it's the right time? Is it market knowledge? We'll help you unpack and solve all of those obstacles and help our clients get on a path. And I think not everyone can make quick decisions. Like I'm generally a relatively fast decision maker, but a cautious decision maker. I will take a calculated risk, not a crazy risk. So I've invested in properties over the years and I've got a substantial portfolio now, and it's got me to where I am because I've made good decisions along the way. And if you can overcome those fear hurdles and use advisors, it's going to set you up for life.
Build a team around you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you the same way you put out a lot of education. This is why I like to do this podcast. It's not, I don't get a lot of referrals or anything. It's just about, hey, I'm here. It's a trusted advisor. I'm not, we're here to do the right thing. And not,
see it.
Not lead you down the garden path. This is why we've got the team around you. So buyers agents, accountants, financial planners, lawyers, all the people that are going to help you and they're here to advise you. So to take the decision making away from you.
Well, the other thing I was going to point out is with the procrastination, let's say you're a home buyer and you're trying to get into a certain suburb.
Yeah.
And we've had inquiries from a year ago and I look in my database and the same person's come back a year later. But now they're actually priced out of that market because it's jumped 100, it's jumped 200, it's jumped 300 grand, and they're still on the same income. So then now they've got to look at other suburbs. So just bear that in mind if you're a home buyer and you want to get into a particular area, moving a bit sooner, or if you can get your finance approved and go sooner, you're going to be better off in the long term. And the other point is, I guess, stretching the budget. Like when a bank does an approval, right, they've already assessed a 3% buffer rate. So I get clients come to me all the time, Rich, I've got a borrowing capacity of $1 million, but I only want to spend 700. What can you buy me? I go, that's fine. I can buy you a property at 700, but tell me why you don't want to go to 8, 9 or $1 million. Oh, I just want to keep a bit in reserve. Well, we're not going to buy you a property for 250 grand, right? So I say to them, if the banks approve that, let's keep it flexible. Let's buy the best quality asset with the highest return we can get up to that range. How does that sound? And I'm trying to recalibrate their brain to think, if the bank's going to give me the money, I want to use it, right?
Well, maybe it's just not being explained to them how that's being calculated. And, to touch back on the point of using the first home buyers, being priced out of the market. I feel some first home buyers are very unrealistic about the first property.
Yes.
We did a panel podcast with the Emerge, Adam, Luke, and Simon and myself. We're all the brokers at Emerge, where Simon and Luke bought the best quality asset for what they could afford at the time, and they did things to it. Now they've realised that 12, 24 months down the track, it's worth a bucket load more.
Yeah.
Simon renovated his property without even having put any cash down because of the equity it created.
Yeah.
Luke, very similar. So it's we're living. We've got the guys that are doing that. We're walking and talking the talk.
That's it.
And I just feel you've got to get what you can afford at the time.
Yeah.
But you can't afford 800. Great.
Well, it's also getting on the property ladder, I think, too, Dion. Like a lot of people in the buying their first home think, well, I want to get a townhouse or a house first, and they can't afford that. Just get a good quality apartment in a good area, start somewhere and use that, and then sell it tax-free to upgrade to the townhouse, then upgrade to the house or move to a better location. But some people are scared, or they've kind of had a privileged lifestyle and think, oh, they've got this entitlement mentality. So just get on the ladder.
Yeah. You'll move house 3 times anyway.
Yeah.
So you don't have to fall in love with your first place. You want options, flexibility. But, time in the market is way better than timing the market. You never time it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you've got to, if you time the market, you're probably going to be here. But if you were already in the market, you've already made that difference.
That's right.
If it's gone up 10% or, gone down, but yours has gone up, you're going to make. You're going to have the asset in
Let me tell you just an example of the power of overcoming procrastination, if I may. I had a client ring me up a couple of weeks ago and he said, Rich, I won't say his name because it's private, but he said, Rich, I just want to ring and thank you for helping me buy my portfolio. I went, wow, this is great. I don't get a lot of calls. Like a lot of people build portfolios and they're happy. But to get that thanks has just really made my day. And he said, Rich, we've bought 4 properties through your company and I'm basically retired now. I don't need to work if I don't want to. and he's now worth about $4.5 million net. And he's just super happy. And it was just so good to talk through the process. We had lunch together and just see him now living his dream because he's actually taken action and bought a bunch of properties.
So how long? So that's an amazing outcome. But to get, how long was he on
about
the journey
10, 11 years. Yeah.
So it's not a sprint.
So let me say, so we advised him. He was based in Sydney.
Yeah.
We just bought him a nice cheapy property out in Western Sydney, right? We added a granny flat. So, and that's tripled in value, right? So back in the day, it was like 350 grand.
Which would have been like, oh my God, it's
added
350
added 100 grand granny flat. We were almost getting 9 to 10% yield off that. That was fantastic, right? Same sort of product today will cost you about $1 million for the house, 200 for the flat, and you'll get a 5 to maybe 5.5, 6% yield. So it's still good yields, right? If you can do it right. But the fact that he's held it and then recycled that equity into other properties and just rinse and repeat. It's that simple. It's not rocket science building a portfolio, right?
No, and it's building a portfolio. You need the team behind you. Because,
exactly.
Like using some of my clients as an example, like not knowing what you don't know. If you're good at your job, and your wife's good at her job, but then you're also trying to do your jobs, trying to figure out the finance, trying to go buy property, your growth's going to actually take you longer.
Well, but this is the thing, to get educated on a market, to your point about time, right? To get to understand a market, if you're doing it on your own, I reckon it's going to take 3 to 6 months to really understand what drives that market, what the average rental return is, which agents are overquoting or underquoting. Like getting to know that dynamic takes time, whereas my buyer's agents are living and breathing it every day. So it just accelerates that. And in getting that knowledge is fantastic, you know?
Yeah, so you said you've got buyer's agents in every state because you've got to be licensed in every state. So that adds to the credibility of property buyer.
Correct.
Do you want to give them a bit of a shout out? So who are you guys on the ground in Queensland? Because we're in sunny Queensland.
Here we go. Well, Glenn Sainsbury is my team leader here. He's fantastic. So he's lived and breathed property for over 30 years. He's really cool. So we've got Lisa, we've got Robin, we've got Matt and Angela who work with him as well as a wonderful team. So we cover the sunny coast, Gold Coast, and all areas of Brisbane.
All the hot markets.
All the hot markets,
mate, sunny coast. Holy moly.
Hasn't that grown? I mean, that's phenomenal, hey? Yeah,
mate, It's growing, and now when you're getting the assets there, it's like you're getting the same asset as everyone else sitting there.
Yeah.
That's probably, and you just got to be very strategic.
And I've seen a lot of people move to the Gold Coast, for example, as well, and to Brisbane. Even some of my team members have moved to Brisbane. You know, Michelle, my ops director, is fantastic. She's moved up here, loves it, close to family. Like, there's a lot of lifestyle benefits up here, and I can see why that's going to continue. Yeah. And a big shout out to Brisbane too, in terms of, you know, I'll do a around the country wrap up in a minute, but I think it's a market that's got a lot of legs and it's going to continue to grow really strongly.
Yeah, I think there's been, Brisbane's always been that market that's just steadily gone along, and then it just went, and now it's just going to, I reckon it'll still continue to grow the normal way. Like the trend will be the same.
That's right.
But we've just had that massive spike in the market, and it was due.
That's right.
It's probably corrected, maybe overcorrected in certain places.
But everything kind of corrected a bit after COVID. I mean, we had 13 interest rate rises and a lot of areas really corrected, you know. So,
But I just think now it's that once we've got that correction in place, now it's even more important that you get someone that has that knowledge if you want to buy a property, buy the right property, buy the right quality asset. Now, there's a bit of, like, I'm going to cause you're never going to get things 100% right. You just don't know. But if you've got the data driven.
Yeah. Well, look, there's two parts with the data. I'll just make a point on that, is that we use a whole lot of data. We use microburbs, we use suburbs finder, we use price finder, core logic, hot spotting, and our own proprietary data research. And I've just engaged, I've employed a guy called Huswine, who's my head of research now. So we spend a lot of time collating that information, but you can get to a point of what I call paralysis of analysis.
Yes.
And I see it with clients. They just go, but that 0.1 of a thing over here is like, and it just does your head in. So there's art and science when it comes to property location selection and property selection. So the data will give you certain information, but it also has some lagging indicators, and you've got to be careful, because on the ground, you can see, like particularly in Sydney, auction clearance rates are a good leading indicator, volume of people at open homes, and how much over the asking price or over the guide price people are paying as leading indicators as to where the market's going. Another indicator we look at is volume of sales. If we're seeing a volume of sales go up incrementally in an area, that's a sign capital growth is coming. So, for example, we're buying quite a bit in Townsville. So Greg, my buyer's agent there, is buying properties pretty much 100% off market in that area. And, you can buy a good house, 550 to 600,000, and you get a 5.5% rental yield, maybe 6%, which is a great market, but very tightly held market. So you've got to know and read the tea leaves, so to speak. But yeah, as I say, there's art and science to interpreting the data.
It is. That's why I just do the finance side of it. I can't do everything.
Yeah.
So you got covered off Queensland.
Yeah, Queensland. So then Sydney, I've got, I won't go through the whole team, but we cover the whole Sydney basin.
It's big.
It's large. Yeah, it's a big area. Yeah. So, and also Central Coast. I've got a buyer's agent on the Central Coast and Newcastle as well.
That place is going off.
Yeah. Newcastle's been a really good performer, and Central Coast too, really affordable market.
Why Newcastle? Because I've heard a lot like Newcastle.
I just did a podcast. You'll have to listen to the podcast.
Okay,
Kevin Mason is my principal guy. He's been with me over 12, 13 years now. He's fantastic. It's not, we talked about it the other day, it's not the old BHP steel mill days. Back in 99 when the steel mill closed, everyone thought, Newcastle's going to collapse. It's the 7th largest city in Australia, right? It's got fantastic beaches. Its property market has been really stable. So you're going to get a yield of around 4 to 4.5% there on your average property. Very low vacancy rate. The whole CBD area is being revitalised. It's a real thriving metropolis now, and it's only an hour and a half north of Sydney. So it's got a lot of growth.
And it's on the water.
Yeah. And then you got the Hunter Valley 30 minutes away through the Hunter Valley Expressway, which is now 30 minutes to Colburn, wherever you want to go.
So they've done that.
Absolutely.
That infrastructure's been done.
Lots of more. And there's more infrastructure. Yeah, good news. International flights, they've extended the runway, and they're going to be getting international flights from Bali and other areas landing very soon.
Oh, wow. That's okay. So that's going to bring more, drive more.
Exactly. Yeah.
People in there.
And then we've got Melbourne, obviously across Victoria, got a team down there, South Australia.
Because Melbourne's funny, eh? It's
well, Melbourne. Okay, so if we want to talk about markets, Melbourne
is very high level. This is not advice, everyone. Yeah. This is just really high level.
But my thoughts are: look, Melbourne's been in the doldrums for quite a while, but it's showing very strong signs of green shoots. So, 0.4% increase in February, 0.3% in April. We're starting to see prices really start. And this is the thing, on the ground, for example, in Frankston, we've seen prices jump about $100,000 in the last 2 months.
Whoa.
So that's in one suburb. Okay, so we're buying a lot in that southeast corner, that really affordable pocket, sort of between $750 to $1 million for a good full quality 4-bedroom house. I can see in those certain pockets there, those properties will probably double in value in the next 10 years. Right, as I can see a corollary to certain parts of Sydney that I've seen have similar characteristics, close to the water, near the bayside, shops, schools, transport connections. So I think Melbourne's got a lot of legs. It's got a lot of what I call old money, if you like. So family money, generational money will start be there. You got a lot of international migrants that relocate there to be sort of with their tribe, so to speak. The other thing is Melbourne's population is now larger than Sydney. So that's another factor. So I think Melbourne, look, it's not going to see 10% growth this year. I think we'll see 5-6% growth, but next year, 2026, I reckon we could see double-digit growth.
Because it needs it.
And you heard it on the Dion podcast.
Yeah.
There you go.
Heard it here. Just remember, it's not advice. It's just not guaranteed. But
the thing about Melbourne, the difficulty is the yields are lower. Okay, so if you want a negative gear, so we're putting a lot of doctors and higher net worth clients that can afford that negative gearing, going for high growth, Melbourne's definitely a place to buy. For those that need the yield, we've also got a solution with a granny flat. You can now do granny flats across Victoria, anywhere, just like New South Wales, same kind of legislation, maximum 60 square metres, as long as you comply with the setbacks, minimum 600 square metre blocks. Granny flats are a great solution as well. Yeah, okay. So that'll bump the yield above 5%.
Yeah, and then gradually, like the more they do that, the more comparable sales you have. Eventually,
it hasn't been accepted. Like granny flats in Sydney took a while to be accepted. Same thing's happening in Melbourne. It's a bit of a push, but I don't want to lose my backyard. But the renters need it, right? And if you're buying an investment, who cares if you've got half a backyard?
I don't want to mow.
You know, exactly.
Why would you want to mow?
Yeah, but I'll tell you, a lot of younger people want a house with a granny flat. I buy the house, granny flat helps pay off the mortgage. They don't care. Or intergenerational living. You've got families living with each other. Yep. There's a lot of that.
I think, you talked about the migration, that they love that. They, a lot of people love it. I know come from the Indian culture,
exactly.
Family's quite important. They'd love to have their parents, like, especially if you
got
kids.
The Greeks, Italians, they're all sort of living in their little enclaves, you know?
Yeah. WA.
WA. Oh, Perth. Okay.
Yeah,
look, Perth.
You said you had someone up
Yeah.
there.
Look, Perth's a market that is really just gone stellar growth. You know, I forget the number, 23%, 24%, which is unsustainable growth. It's obviously dramatically slowing, but it's not going to stop. There's still opportunities to buy. Like we're buying in Bunbury. What else? There's a couple other parts down the coast. We're still getting some good value. So we're going for sort of more the value properties in that sort of 550 to 800K bracket, up to $1 million maybe. Yeah, and there's still legs. But see, Perth, again, critical shortage of properties. Properties are generally only stay on the market 1 to 2 weeks before they're sold. So it's a very active market. I think it's probably got another 3 years worth of runway. But then you got to watch Perth. It is tied closely to the resources sector, so it can flatline. I don't think China's going to stop all of its imports of steel and iron ore and all the rest of it that we produce. So I think it's still a pretty safe bet, but it has had a good run. Yeah,
I just know that like there's a couple of clients that have bought land. The land there just took ages. It just kept getting pushed back for registration. And then we got to the construction. It took ages. Like it took so long to get in on. And like I said, you might as well have just bought a.
Well, that's the issue with trades, right? Because there's a trade shortage. Often it's going to be better to buy an established property than trying to do the build process because getting the builder, the quotes, everything goes over budget, over time. Yeah, not always.
You're holding on to a property for almost 12 to 16 months and there's no income.
That's right.
And that as an investment, like it's going backwards. It's
Exactly.
set you back probably 2 and a bit, 3 years to recoup that loss.
That's right.
What Adelaide's? Western
Adelaide's
Australia?
been really like Adelaide's always flown under the radar, right? But again, critical shortage of properties. The vacancy rates, again, around 1% or less. Again, a really affordable market. We think that market's still got some strong legs, you know. I guess the challenge for Adelaide is going to be the price to income ratio. So when you look at people's incomes versus the median price, which is almost, I think it's 960,000 now, it's really rocketed up, almost catching up to par with Brisbane. Again, it's what's going to drive that market further. So there are some defence facilities down there, but it's a beautiful market. It's a really attractive place to live. Again, I think it's just going to be a steady performer.
Yep. Do you do anything in Tasmania?
We are, yes. Hobart, yes. I've got a new buyer's agent starting in July, actually. So Hobart or Launceston would probably be the two areas. It can work to buy holiday rentals there is one thing I'm going to talk to you about. It's a different kind of market, yes. So I think Hobart particularly be the major market I'd be looking at because it's got more, longevity and a more critical mass. I don't like to buy in areas that are too niche, right? You know, or the market's too small, but definitely Hobart's on our radar.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been to Tasmania yet. So
I haven't been.
No,
You've got to go. It's fantastic.
I've
been about 8 times. It's lovely.
Yeah, we went to Queenstown, but haven't been. But yes, one of the places I have heard, like Hobart's been popping up in conversation. Bit of Western Australia with building, and I just said, just be careful with the build. Just speak to the right people. So I don't consult on whether you should build or what. I don't consult on what property you should buy. That's a little bit. I say, well, the finance is here, but you probably should be talking to someone specialised as to what property you should buy, where you should buy it, when you should buy it.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing is just work out when you're talking about balancing your portfolio across different states. Obviously, land tax is a big thing to consider. So the highest land taxes are in Melbourne at the moment because you pay land tax from over $50,000 worth of land value. It shouldn't put you off investing there, but sometimes it's good to diversify across different states and then you're taking advantage of different growth cycles and that land tax threshold.
But also then when you're balancing your portfolio, you're balancing your tax as well.
Correct.
Yeah. So you're probably, you'll have a really high growth property here. You'll have a like a high growth, low yield.
Yeah.
So you'll have a bit more like more negative, and then you'll have a positive, like a neutral, and then it'll balance itself out.
Correct.
And that's where your accountant comes into play.
Exactly.
And your structures come into play. And then you're working with your finance to make sure the structures align, get the buyer's agent to buy it.
Yeah.
And then make sure the insurances are covered too, because each state will have a different type of cover that you need.
Yes.
The type of asset that you buy requires a special type of coverage, like rooming house.
Yes.
You can't just walk up to Amy or Suncorp and I want to do my rooming house. You got to protect the assets too.
Yeah.
Like it's all well and good buying the assets, but gosh, please, if you sign a contract, get some insurance on it.
Absolutely.
Speak to an insurance broker. I know some good ones. So, well, I mean, that's a lot of information. Like we've gone through a lot. I feel I don't need to go through the third topic, which is credibility, because I think we've just established that automatically and how we do that. But mate, I'm just going to say good luck with your awards, your 3 awards. You're 49 not out.
Thank you.
And I really hope you get the 50. You can send me a message tonight if you get one of the 50. Mate, look, thank you again. I really appreciate your time. I know you're busy, and I'm so lucky we were able to schedule this. I feel it's a lot better, and I know Luke will agree with me. It's a lot better when people are in the studio.
Yeah, that's great.
No tech issues.
That's good.
Hopefully.
It's a bit like talking in the lounge room. It's fantastic.
Yeah. It's a great little setup that they've got here, Umbrella Creative. But mate, how do people get a hold of you?
Absolutely. Through propertybuyer.com.au is our website. Have a look on there. 1300 655 615 is our phone number. But the website, propertybuyer.com.au, has got lots of information. You can subscribe to my market updates that I write once a month, any of my blogs. I do regular webinars once a month. That's basically it. It's all on the website.
Awesome. And as always, the information on this podcast is very general in nature. It's not advice tailored or specific to your current needs. If you want to talk about property in your specific situation, hey, you've just got Rich's details. Hit him up. If you want to talk finance in your situation, give me a call. I'm very easy to get a hold of. You can find me on Instagram at Dion Finance Specialist, LinkedIn, Dion Fernandez. The podcast has a website too, financespropertythat.com.au. Mouthful, but you get the idea. And also emergefinance.com.au. That's you'll see the greater team up there as well. We do have an amazing team, and if you're ever in the area, we have an amazing coffee shop too. But until next time, see you on the next episode.
Thanks, Dion.